Hello everybody, welcome back to the Desmworks channel, and I'm just going to bring you an update on where we are with the painting. So I was due to go to the paint booth on Monday of this week. Unfortunately, I forgot to take my camera. So I've done a lot of the work, or in fact we've actually pretty much finished doing the painting. So I thought what I'd do is just talk you through the process. We did manage to take some pictures with the phone camera, but unfortunately I didn't have any video footage. So my humble apologies on that point. We are doing some more paint work in the new year on some race fairings, so I can hopefully give an overview there of what we do paint wise. In fairness, we had a good solid 11 hours in the paint booth and it was pretty much full on, so I'm not sure I would have had time to set up the cameras and get decent footage anyway, so I'm not sure that the quality would have been all that great. So anyway, I've got a few stills that I've taken, but what I'll just talk you through quickly is what process I went through. I'll stick a few of the stills in, and then I'm going to show you the end results of the painting process as it stands at the moment for the Ducati ST2. So over the last sort of 2 weeks, I spent about 5 days sanding all of the fairings down. So I used 3 combinations of paper to get through the fairings and get them down to a sort of acceptable standard to paint. I initially used a 240 grit, and that helped me take out the stickers. So I've used a very sharp Stanley blade, cut the stickers away, and then used the 240 to rough out and smooth the lacquer and the base coat down to the fairing panel. I plastic welded the 3 cracks that I had on the fairing panel. So I had one seat panel where I unfortunately dropped it when I was moving the garage around and split off one of the mounting tabs, so that was plastic welded on, and I'll show you where that was in a second. And then if you remember when I took you through the initial overview video of the bike, and I'll link that up here somewhere, the right hand fairing panel had been cracked in 2 places, so that was plastic welded, filled with body filler, and then sanded back using a combination of 400 grit and 600 grit paper, and I'll show you where it ended up, and it's not too bad. And then those repairs were epoxy coated on the back just to give them a little bit of extra strength, and they look reasonable. Fingers crossed when I put them on I don't over stress anything and re-crack them, and otherwise I'm going to have to source a new panel and spray that to match. I then spent a whole load of time sanding all the panels back. The key piece that we were trying to get rid of was any of the defects that sat in the panels, cracks, big stone chips, rub marks from the other fairing panels rubbing against the panel that I was treating at the time. I wanted to make sure that I'd got the top coat of the lacquer either taken completely off or smoothed in such a way and prepped so that it could accept paint. So where I was taking defects out, I had to feather all of the edges. So I typically went as far as I needed to go to get rid of the crack or the stone chip mark, and then would feather the whole surrounding area. So invariably, and you'll see it in one of the photos, I ended up with a back to plastic finish, and then you'd have a feather for the base coat and a feather for the clear coat that sat on top. I thought I was in a reasonable place with that. When we went to the paint booth that we hired, there's a tech on hand to give us advice on everything, and when we got in there he said actually the panels where I've taken the stickers off and taken large areas and the repairs would need to be high build primed first. So there's a photo you'll see in a second of what that looks like when it's completed, but we high build primed the I think it was the 2 top panels, the head fairing, the V piece and the tail piece, which if you remember had a lot of aluminium corrosion that had burst through the paint, and then the 2 seat side panels. That was then marked up with a sort of guide coat, so it's just a standard black spray, and again I'll show a photo of what that looks like. And then I spent a good 2 to 3 hours rubbing those panels back to be smooth and ready to accept the base coat. That got us to a position where we were ready to base coat all of the main panels. So we set those up, and then we did a Porsche orange base coat to cover up all of the high build primer and any colour differences on the panels. So I applied about 3 coats where there was a colour difference between the panel, so where we had red and taken down to the plastic, that got 3 base coats. And then we were doing what was called a wet on wet type painting process. So we painted it, allowed the solvents to initially flash off, and then put another coat on. Once I'd coated everything in the orange, photo coming, we then moved on to the Ducati red, and we then sprayed the Ducati red over all the panels. I did 2 coats of the Ducati red, which we just about had enough paint, because the paint shop, we'd ordered half a litre, they only sent us 1/4 of a litre, but we just about managed to get 2 coats on everything, including the luggage set. We then let that sit again until all the solvent had flashed off, repaired any runs that we'd caused or defects during the painting process. We actually got quite lucky, we only had 2 runs across all of the panels we painted, and then went into the lacquer. Applied 2 complete coats of lacquer to all of the panels, and then we baked off the whole setup for half an hour, and that gets me to where I am now. So we are on Sunday today. So the panels were painted 6 days ago. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you through the panels, and you can make up what your own mind on how good you think they are. Bear in mind, this is the first time I've ever painted in a booth. I have spray painted before, but typically because I'm doing it on race bikes, whilst you want a good quality, you don't have to go OTT with it. So this is the first time I've painted a road bike, and where I wanted to get the quality as good as I could. So let's have a look at some of these panels. Okay, so this is the fuel tank, and you can see actually it's come out really nice. I left the fuel warning sticker on the back. That got a light rub down. I masked it while I painted the base coat, and then it's been lacquered over, so that still sits within the lacquer as it would have done factory wise. It's got a very slight, it's a little bit dry on the lacquer there, and a very light orange peel at the very front, but I think it's come out colour wise pretty good. This is the head fairing, which had a huge amount of stone chips all across the front and up the flanks where the mirrors mount. And again, this has come out really nice. This was quite tricky to mount and paint because you had multiple surfaces at different angles to paint. So I'm really pleased with how that one's come out. The top box, so this is Ducati Performance top box. It had masses of scratching across the back here, and then light surface scratches all over where it had been used. And that's come out okay. I need to get a new gel coat Ducati Performance sticker to go in there, so I've got the original that came off. And this has got some slight orange peeling that hopefully we'll be able to get polished out. I've got the clock brackets, but unfortunately what I found out post ordering these and getting these is that you can see here the mounting tab is missing on that panel, and then the securing tongue and the mounting tab is missing on there. I'm hoping to be able to plastic weld those in without the need to repaint, but they've been done in a gloss Grigio Senna, so it's the grey colour, and there's some sort of, you can see in here, there's some sort of defects that were in the plastic, but at the end of the day I just wanted to get those as a temporary measure, because I'm going to try and source a slightly better set, because I don't know how well I can plastic weld those together, but they come out okay. We've then got the 2 luggage set pieces or side panniers. This one had massive gouges going across the top here. You see it's still on the actual plastic. I've got to find out a way to see if I can make this side pannier look any better likewise on that one, because there's some small surface scratches in there, but the actual panel came out okay on each of these. There's a slight hidden defect in there where we think that there was some silicone polish deep in the panel, and it just kept causing the paint to separate. But again, that's come out with very little orange peel effect. The first of the the first of the lower fairing panels, and this has come out really nice. Lots of defects at the bottom of it where it obviously gets stone impacted, and likewise on the front, but I mean that's come out pretty faultless. There's very little orange peel effect on that one. The second one again as well, the defect areas come up really nice. First of the seat panels. Now this one had a repair just done here, so you can see the back piece that I've epoxy supported, but you can barely see any issue with where it was repaired. There's a slight couple of little hollows just in there, but not very noticeable at all, and that will be under the seat once it's put in there, so that come out really nice. The second one again come out really good as well, and a small amount of orange peeling that can be polished out or cut out, sorry. And then we come into the bulk of the panel. So this was really heavily stone chipped, so it's the lower part of the top fairing where the air feed, as you can see, for the regulator rectifier is. So this had lots of damage on the underside of it, and again it's come out really good. The V-piece with its new the V-piece with its new mesh recoated in there, and as you can imagine this was covered in loads of defects. So if I just put that down, this had panel rub marks all the way down the side here and then up here, so they've been sanded back and filled, and you can't even see those. Masses of stone chips because of where it sits, so there's stone chips all round here, all round the bottom, and you can see a few little dimples, but bear in mind this is hidden. This has come out really nice, and almost looks new until you look on the back and you suddenly realise I've got a couple of rusty screws that I've put back in just to show that it's been refurbished, but it's come out really nice. Here's the two side panels with the inserts, and you can see I've gone for a gloss finish rather than the original matte because I think it comes out really nice. It really pops that side panel out and gives it a nice look. Hardly any orange peel effect on there. And then this one is the repaired panel, so you can see the mesh still there that I haven't cut out. There's a slight defect in there, a little hollow, and there's a few pinholes just in from where this crack was, but bear in mind I'm not aiming for a concourse finish. I'm really chuffed with that. The tail piece grab handle has come out really nice. So if you remember from the original video, this had all got aluminium corrosion and had popped all the paint off, so there was a lot of prep work that went into this, but it's come out, well, looking almost new, so I'm really pleased with that. Front mudguard, not much to really say on that. Got to fit the brake line piece back on, but this was a case of on the flanks there just taking all the stone chips down, and it's come up with a nice smooth finish. The tank protector, or the key, I don't know what you'd call this piece, but it's the plastic piece that sits on top of the fuel tank and mounts around the ignition barrel. It's got a slight run just here, but we're going to see how that looks when we fit it onto the bike before I decide whether or not I'm going to sand that down and smooth out. Then we've got the top of the dash and its underside, and again that's been done in high gloss, and there's a run, but this is where the screen mounts, so I might not even touch that. I might just leave that there, just so I know that it's been done. Then the two mirrors, yeah, this is the one that had, so this had a piece missing, so there's a couple of little defects you can just see in the top there, but there was a big hole here where it had been impacted, so that was been filled with fiberglass filler and then normal filler and then smoothed out, but that's not come out too bad. And in fact, actually the plastics are cleaned up reasonably well, but our masking failed us a little there, so it's going to have to be carefully cleaned back. So there we have it, all the paintwork has been completed. So all I need to do is get that on the bike and we are ready to get the bike pretty much MOT'd. I'm going to leave it for a little while before I polish down all of the defects in the paint, so the orange peel and that. And the primary reason for that is I want it to get really hard. I want it to make sure that we've had all of the solvents leach out of the paints. But we have a very bright red setup here. I think it's going to look stunning. Those of you that are going to ask questions around where are the decals, I'm not putting them on. I don't like them, so I'm going to leave them off. I think the beauty of the tank top saying the Ducati Sports Touring piece is subtle, and I like it that way, so I'm not going to be putting any of the stickers back on. If somebody wanted to do it when they bought me off at a later date, all they need to do is rub down the panel, stick them in and re-lacquer over them, so it's not a massive job. But other than the sticker that's got to go back on the top box, I'll get a tank protector to go on the back of the tank. The aim is to leave it just in this beautiful red and not do anything else to it. Okay, let's wrap that up then. Okay, so we'll call that video a wrap here. Apologies that I didn't have any footage of actually the paintwork being done, but as I said, I'm not sure that I'd have had time to have got any decent footage, but you've got the sort of background pictures that show the different stages that we were doing as we worked through those, so hopefully that sort of suffices. Next video is back onto the 1098S to service the Öhlins forks and then give that bike a good clean down so I can get it listed ready for sale in the new year. And then once that's done, the ST2 is going to come back. We're going to get body work on. We'll have a final check over of the bike to make sure I've not missed anything, make sure everything's torqued down that's pivotal. And then I'm going to try in the new year to get it booked in for an MOT. So for those of you not in the UK, that is our roadworthiness test. So that will assess the bike as being fit to be able to be used on the road. And then hopefully after that, we'll have it out for its first ride. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like. Please do comment. Any questions, stick them down below and I'll try and get back as soon as possible. Please share the video around, and if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because there's more content to come. Thanks for watching. Have a great Christmas or seasonal holiday or break, however you term it, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers then. Bye.